The Red Sea, narrow, strategic, and vital. More than 10% of global trade passes through this maritime artery, linking the Suez Canal in the north to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait in the south. But now, this already crowded region is about to change. Russia is building a naval base in Sudan. If completed, it will give Moscow its first ever permanent military outpost in Africa and direct access to one of the world's most strategic waterways. It's a move that signals far more than regional ambition. It's a global play with implications for trade, security, and military power. So, what's really going on in Sudan? Why does Russia want this base? And how might this reshape the balance of power in the Red Sea? Let's explore. Back in 2020, Russia and Sudan signed an agreement allowing Moscow to establish a logistics support facility in Port Sudan. The base would host up to 4 Russian warships, including nuclear-powered vessels. In exchange, Sudan would receive military aid, training, and economic support from Russia, essentially weapons for access. Although the deal was signed under Sudan's transitional government, its implementation was delayed due to domestic upheaval and external pressure, particularly from the West. But as of 2024 and into 2025, the base appears to be back on track. Russia has reaffirmed the agreement with Sudan's military leadership, and construction talks have reportedly resumed. The location, Port Sudan, is no accident. This city sits almost perfectly at the midpoint of the Red Sea, near key shipping lanes. From here, Russia would be able to monitor maritime traffic passing between Europe and Asia, project naval power into the Indian Ocean, and establish a warm water foothold well beyond its traditional sphere. And for Russia, this move fits a larger pattern. Since 2014, Moscow has expanded its presence in Africa militarily, diplomatically, and economically. Russian advisors and Wagner-linked forces are active in Libya, Mali, and the Central African Republic. Military cooperation deals have been signed with over 20 African states. And at the Russia-Africa summits in 2019 and 2023, Moscow offered grain, arms, and infrastructure in exchange for strategic alignment. The Sudan base is a natural extension of that strategy. It mirrors Russia's only other major naval facility outside its immediate regent, Tartus, in Syria, which anchors Russian operations in the eastern Mediterranean. Now, with Sudan, Russia can establish a second naval triangle, one leg in Syria, another in Sudan, and the third potentially in the Indian Ocean. But Moscow isn't operating in a vacuum. The Red Sea is already crowded with foreign powers. The United States operates Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti, just 300 kilometers away. France, Japan, and even China maintain military installations there as well. If Russia joins the mix, Djibouti and the wider Red Sea basin will become one of the most militarized maritime corridors in the world. Washington is watching closely. The U.S. has reportedly offered Sudan economic incentives to back away from the deal, including debt relief and reintegration into the global financial system. But Sudan's current government, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, seems to be leaning toward Russia, especially as relations with the West remain strained following the 2021 coup and ongoing internal conflict. Egypt, another key Red Sea player, is also concerned. Cairo views the Red Sea as a vital national interest, both for economic security through the Suez Canal and for regional influence. A permanent Russian naval presence in Sudan complicates Egypt's calculus, especially given Russia's growing ties to Ethiopia, Egypt's main rival over Nile water rights. And then there's China. While often viewed as a distant observer, China has deep economic ties to Sudan. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, it has invested heavily in Sudanese oil and infrastructure. And China's own naval base in Djibouti, its first overseas, has made Beijing a direct stakeholder in Red Sea security. A Russian base in Sudan could present both opportunities and complications for China. On one hand, it offers a potential strategic partner. On the other, it adds competition in a region Beijing would prefer to dominate economically. Whether the two powers coordinate or compete remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the Red Sea is becoming a flashpoint. With multiple foreign navies operating in close proximity alongside fragile states, active conflicts, and threats from non-state actors like the Houthis in Yemen, the risks of miscalculation are high. Any skirmish, misunderstanding, or proxy attack could escalate quickly, pulling major powers into confrontation. Russia's new base, if fully realized, will add yet another layer to this already complex equation. It gives Moscow global reach, challenges US dominance in a key maritime theater, and signals that Russia is not retreating but expanding. For Sudan, it's a risky bet. The government hopes to gain weapons, legitimacy, and investment. But in doing so, it may invite greater international scrutiny and entangle itself in the rivalries of larger powers. The question now isn't just whether Russia will build the base, it's what comes next. Will this become a permanent foothold that reshapes naval strategy in the 21st century? Or will it trigger a new arms race in the Red Sea? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the shadows are lengthening in the Red Sea, and Russia has just stepped into the light.